Johnston here. This is the Real Estate and Money Show, which is absolutely every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That is correct. We're going to be talking about real estate tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about taxes tonight, and we're going to talk about banking tonight. And there we go. I, as you know, am living in Panama City, Panama, which is the capital of Panama. It is not referred to as Panama City by the locals or by any Panamanians. It is referred to as Panama. So it's Panama, Panama. In fact, it's not Panama, Panama. It's Panama, Panama, Panama. Correct. That is absolutely correct. I keep telling you all this, but I'm going to keep bouncing it into your head until you understand that the city of Panama resides within the province of Panama in the country of Panama, but no one ever says province here. They say Panama. They don't say Panama City. They say Panama. So literally your address would be something Panama, Panama, Panama. And the locals, they're happy with it that way. They see nothing odd about saying Panama 3 times in the same sentence. All right. So good for them, as we all say. So recently, as you know, I was in Costa Rica for about 5.5 months. I came to Panama a month ago now, and I'm having the time of my life. I'll repeat my story for those who do not know me or who I am or where I come from. I was a journalist in Canada from 2016 up until November of last year. The Canadian government did not like the fact that I was divulging a great number of secrets about the Canadian government and about the pandemic and all the other nonsense that went on in Canada. The government did not like the fact that there were a number of files that I got my hands on, such as what Justin Trudeau was doing, the naughty things he was doing in the Caribbean. We released those stories early. We had talked at length on my show about Justin Trudeau's economic policy, the real policy that the media wouldn't cover. And each and every time we would cover stories like this to do with the country of Canada going down a really dark path, the cops would always come to my door and give me a difficult time. And when I say difficult time, I mean assault, kidnapping. They call it arrest. We call it kidnapping, and so on. So Canada really, it's on a pathway that it's going to remain on. I don't see it changing anytime soon. There's right now 205 political prisoners in Canada, conservative journalists and conservative podcasters who simply want answers. They want to know why their country is falling apart. And when they ask questions that are contrary to the left-wing narrative that runs Canada, they end up in prison. And typically they end up in prison with no charges or a bogus charge where they'll sit until the Crown attorneys decide they cannot hold them legally any longer. And then they might get a bail hearing or they might get a plea offer made to them. And once you're in a Canadian prison, if you're in a Canadian prison for anything more than 4 weeks, your mind begins to go. Canadian prisons are very dark, deep, ugly places that are designed to break your spirit. They are all about punishment. There's nothing about rehab in the entire Canadian system. So guys that get out, they end up being changed. Weaker men collapse. It breaks them mentally. And that is exactly what they are trying to do to the Canadian people by crushing the economy and by continuing to artificially ramp up housing prices all over the country. And we all know that my age, I'll be 53 this year. We all know that if we have kids in their teens and 20s now, they're never going to be able to afford a house in Canada. So I decided to split. I've had enough. When I went to Costa Rica, I think I got my mental health back probably within 4 weeks. It didn't take long. You know, being in the jungle, being by the beach, I was on a mountaintop. It was actually pretty amazing. But just being around nature as much as I was and away from the craziness of the far left and, of course, the Western world, mental health went right back, right through exactly. Routine, time to breathe. And I began pursuing the business of real estate, selling real estate in Costa Rica, which is a very lucrative business in Costa Rica. And if you've got a spare $500,000 lying around, US, of course, you can do quite well investing in that market. Well, I wanted to be involved in more than just selling homes. And I decided to start looking into all the countries in Latin America. Before I got to Costa Rica, I spent a very short time in Mexico, someplace I had never been until November. I liked it very much. I'm not going to lie to you. Cancun and Playa del Carmen are really, really awesome places. But I didn't see the potential that I was looking for. I got off the plane 4 weeks ago in Panama City, and it instantly changed me. And I mean, just instantaneously changed me. So I know you won't see it here on TikTok, but you will see it here on Rumble and every other platform. I'm just going to add this here. This is downtown Panama City. Plane and decided to do a flight from south of the country to the north and then right back down. What you're about to see here is downtown Panama City. We called the tower. The tower gave us permission to do a flyover. So you have to get permission to fly over the top of the downtown floor, which we got. So on the screen there, you're looking at Old Town. That's where I live. Right there at the very front is the UNESCO Heritage Zone. That's the 400-year-old portion of the city. It's amazing. Now I turn the camera over so you can see the modern downtown core. Look at the size of that thing. I mean, that's like Miami, Toronto, New York, Montreal, Vancouver from the 1980s. And that's exactly what it feels like here. Is that everybody takes cash. Every single business is open all the time. Every business that's open is making money, and everybody's walking around with a big smile on their face. Everybody in Panama is incredibly happy with their life in Panama. And that's the part that floors me, is just how happy people are. When you're around happy people, that does rub off. No matter where I go, it doesn't matter what street I'm on, how busy it is, what people are doing. People will take the time to say hola, or buenos dias, or buenas noches, or bueno. Bueno is an introduction. It really is an introduction in Panama. So I have an opportunity to make a lot of conversation here. Now, what I did notice instantaneously, that was different in Panama versus Mexico and Costa Rica, and of course the Asian countries I've been to, Bangladesh, Thailand, Myanmar, is the propensity to just stop and listen to what's being said. People listen to your business ideas and they judge right off the hop, good, bad. If it's good, they do business. It's right on the spot. So I began looking at every single opportunity that there was going to be available to me in Panama as a guy with a really, really big mouth, which I'm sure you can tell by now I have. Real estate is awesome. Like, there are really, if you want to be a real estate agent here or a real estate referral expert, commissions are really high. All right. There are a lot of real estate brokerages and real estate agents who will pay high commissions. So why would you not want to be a part of that? But then I started looking into what you can sell down here, and I thought, all right, the last thing that I would ever want to do is have a retail store. I don't want to carry retail stock. I don't want to. I don't want to in any way have a storage bin somewhere, and I don't want to be unlocking a door at the same time every single day. There has to be more to life than that, because I used to run a retail clothing store in my youth, and I thought I enjoyed it back then when I was in my 20s. But when I stop and think about the headache that it was, I didn't really enjoy it. I just enjoyed the fact that I could say that I was my own boss. But it didn't mean that I was making money. It just meant I was making some money hanging around a retail shop for 8 hours trying to drive clients before. It wasn't the right thing for me. So I started talking with doctors and specialists here. And as it turns out, the healthcare system here in Panama is 20 years ahead of Canada. And the treatment level that you get is so vastly superior to Canada that I would recommend to anybody. It's just not a good idea to get treated in Canada anymore. So come on down to Panama and get treated. How do we turn that into a business? Well, we started looking at the price tag of things like MRIs, which are incredibly difficult to get in Canada right now. Because of Canada's social medicine system, if you want to get your hands on an MRI, you can't just go to the hospital and say, yeah, listen, I've got soft tissue damage, and I've ripped something here, give me an MRI. You can't do that. You have to go and see a family doctor first. If you don't have one, you're kind of screwed. Or you're not going to be able to get that MRI that you're looking for. If you can't get an MRI for soft tissue and analysis, how are you going to get treated? So when I injured my right knee, I knew something was wrong. My bones were gone like that. So with the knocking in my bones, I went and saw my family doctor. He moved my knee around a bit, and it hurt. It really hurt. And he says, yeah, there's something wrong. Okay, I know this. So he sends me off to get an MRI. But the problem was that the MRI took me 6 months to get. When I finally got the MRI, I had to wait almost another 2 months for the analysis of the MRI. I get called back into my family doctor, who then says, "Oh yeah, the specialist has your knee. Go see him." Okay, so I go see him, and that's when he tells me I've got an ACL in my right knee. Tells me he can do one of two things: he can scope my knee, which just cuts of the meniscus off, or get me a new ACL. I said, no, I need a new ACL. So with me asking for an ACL, it took another 6 months to get that surgery done. Now, the surgeon did a good job, but he put me on the wrong antibiotics, and I almost lost my leg to infection. That's Canadian medicine. What bothered me about the way Canadian medicine functions is that this whole thing about diversity hiring is we need to make sure that we hire someone who's black. Just because we don't even know why, but just because. We're not looking for skill. We're not looking for merit. We're just going to find the first person out there who's not white and hire them. And that's exactly what happened. So I had a trainee, 19, didn't speak English. She was able to tell me that she was from Nigeria, which is fine. I don't give a crap where you're from. But what I do care about is the fact that she did not know what she was doing with the ultrasound. So imagine having your leg scanned by an expert for 45 minutes. And they say, oh, yeah, there's nothing there. Your leg hurts for no reason whatsoever. Well, it turns out there was 2 liters of pus in my leg, which didn't even come out until later that night. I know it's gross, but it didn't even come out of my leg until after I had gone to bed. I showed my family doctor the footage of what had come out of my leg, and he had to argue with the surgeon, who then had to go into panic mode, get me to come in to see him in the hospital. I bypassed the line. It would have been a 4-hour wait, but he was nervous. I had to bypass the line. He gets me all cleaned up by one of his nurses, and I got home nursing care. But I only got nursing care at home because the doctor was terrified of having a lawsuit filed against him. That's not medicine. That's not how medicine should function. Okay, so fast forward to me being here almost 6 years later now in Panama. I go over and I saw a gentleman walk in the door, and he said that he wanted to have an MRI. And I happened to be there inspecting the medical center that I'm working with here in Panama City, just west of Panama City. They said, could you have a seat, please? He sat for 15 minutes. Then they got him to go into an office where he put on not those stupid gowns we have in North America where your butt hangs out, but an actual warm gown that didn't show any body parts. And he's got this big smile on his face, and they just march him into the room, and he gets an MRI. Could you imagine? Like in total, it was 15 to 30 minutes. That's all this guy had to wait for an MRI. And as was explained to me, that man was going to get the results phoned into him or Zoom call to him the next day. I despise the way that the Canadian government does things. I was once told that when I had a blood test done, I had an anomaly in my blood. So it's like instantaneous panic mode. What do you mean anomaly? So I have to book an appointment, which I couldn't get for 2 days. So I got 2 days cooking in my head thinking, anomaly, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I shoot in, and they just tell me that my uric acid levels are high, that I could be getting gout attacks. Like, I know that. Why do you think I got the blood test? You're not telling me anything new. All right. So here in Panama, as opposed to in Canada, whenever you get a blood test done, you only get 4 or 5 things looked for. I got over 120 things looked for. And I mean everything. We're talking vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin D, the B1 through B12, the, magnesium, manganese, potassium, everything. And it turns out that all my levels were normal, except my creatine was a bit high because I've been working out lately. Wow. What a terrible problem to have. My body creates too much creatine to keep my joints smooth. Gee whiz, man. Okay, so we now have to start thinking about the fact that Canada, which once had an amazing healthcare system where the whole world was envious of it, now has the worst healthcare system in the entire Western Hemisphere. Chile's better. Brazil is better. Argentina is better. All right. Mexico is better. Costa Rica is better. Panama's better. The only ones that are not would be the following countries: Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Belize. That's in Latin America. In South America, you've got Venezuela. Everybody else has got better healthcare than Canada. Everybody else. Even though Nicaragua doesn't have the greatest healthcare going, you still don't have to wait 18 months to get an MRI there. What they'll do is they'll force you to get in there in some way, a whole lot faster than anybody's going to help you out in Canada. And I'll never quite forget this story. My sister, she called me up saying she didn't know what to do. She was in a hospital in Edmonton, Alberta. She had blood clots and it was actually slowing down her metabolism badly. Now, I got permission to tell this story. And my sweet old sister there calls 911 while in the hospital to say that she's not getting treatment. Now, what a genius, because I'll tell you this right now. They got her right into the emergency room within minutes because 911 called the hospital saying, we can't have people calling 911 from inside the hospital. You'll lose your funding. So they got her in. But why do we have to play games like that as taxpayers in Canada? Sagi is asking me about how much MRIs are. Sagi, July 1st, we launched my new website. And on July 1st, you'll find out every single price to every service that we are offering. So sit tight. It's coming. I have an NDA that I signed. I cannot divulge anything to the public until July the 1st. But don't worry. It's all going to be there. And it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be cheaper than what you can find in the way of MRIs, CT scans, x-rays, and so on in northern states. You see, Canadians can't get healthcare anymore in Canada. So what they'll do is they'll drive within 5 hours of the US border to get healthcare where they can pay for it and just get it. So Canadians have to drive to places like Helena, Butte, Cheyenne, Buffalo, Rochester, who else there? Ithaca. These are all the towns and cities Canadians have to drive to find healthcare. That's sad. Whereas you could just live in Panama and get healthcare whenever you wanted it. That's why I'm proud and happy to be here in Panama. Okay, Kathy, thank you for filling out the survey. Mwah, greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much for doing so. And for those of you who want to know about properties here in Panama, any questions you have about that, go to dopanama.com, dopanama.com. There's a survey. You'll see a button on the right side of the screen. Now, my buddy Austin, he's got a really energy-filled video there. This guy smiles all the time. But to the right of his video, it says, take the survey now. It's just a bunch of click questions. Click, 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 click. And at the bottom of it, click on my name. And both he and I are going to get a hold of you very shortly thereafter. We need to have that type of thing available to people that want to move to Panama. Now, Kathy's asking a good question. You're confused about the residency applications. Buy a house or a condominium here, 300 grand or more, 30 days, you are going to be a resident. Yeah, that's how fast we get things done here in Panama. There's other countries out there. It takes 6 months to get a residency. All right. Carolyn, if you can't buy and you want to rent here in Panama, what you could do is get your hands on the Friendly Nations visa, Canada, United States, any country in the European Union. You can get a Friendly Nations visa for 2 years. You can also have the Digital Nomad visa, which allows you to open up a corporation here, and you can get that within a couple of weeks. That one's an easy one to get, especially if you come from a friendly nation. So just have to keep that in mind. Your Canadian passport, even though Canada sucks, okay, it does. Like right now, it sucks. The Canadian passport is still respected because the rest of the world has not yet caught on to how brutal Canada has become. It will, but there we go. So Kathy, there's a $200,000 investment visa as well, but you won't get the 30-day residency. It'll be 6 months. Okay. So if you're able to hold off for 6 months, no problem at all. You'll definitely be able to get that residency. All right. So yeah, Carolyn, that's why I'm here. All right. If you ever want to know more about the process, you can talk to me or you can talk to Austin, dopanama.com, do the survey right there on the homepage. He is going to call you back and he'll book a half an hour free consultation with you. If I'm available, I will join in on that consultation and get all the questions answered that you need to have answered to make the right choice to be in Panama. So Kathy, $400,000 Canadian might end up being about 310 right now, 320. You'd be okay. If you have any way at all to make a remote income, you'll do incredibly well here. Now, a couple things that have changed since our last conversation, everybody. Since last week, a few things have changed, okay? Number one is that Canadians, we have a brand new way for them to open up a corporation and a bank account. We can get that done right now. Flat fee, $3,000 US. Flat fee. Your corporation will get registered and your bank account will get registered. The only caveat to that particular way of doing things is you will have to come down to Panama for a couple of days and do the interview with the bank, because the bank wants to make sure that you're not a fool. You're not a criminal. They also want to make sure that the face on the passport lines up with the face doing the talking. There are worse fates, than hanging out in Panama City for a couple of days. Let me tell you, you'll like this town. I've had 25 clients now from Canada and 2 from the United States come down to Panama City just to walk around and tour everything. And they all say the same thing. It's Miami. It's like Miami. Everyone says it's Miami, right? Especially if you're in the new area of town. So they've all come down. We've had a good time. We've shot over to the canal. I mean, we go to some of the locks on the canal where you get to watch the ships coming in. It's a very impressive sight, everyone, to see a massive cargo ship get pushed into the canal or the lock, with a tugboat. The 2 tugboats will push, one from the rear, one from the side. They'll push the boat in gently up against the concrete wall that's got a whole bunch of rubber down the sides to protect the wall and the ship. And then what happens is there's trains. They look like the old caboose, except they don't paint them bright colors. And these trains will hook up to the ship, and then the trains will drive on a track right beside the lock and pull the ship into the lock, and then pull the ship out of the lock so the ship can move on to the next lock. It's actually a remarkable feat of engineering. It really is. Rukeen says, I'm a public servant. I need to up my game to be financially independent. Okay, so I'm going to cover that, Rukeen, shortly, okay? We're going to talk about how Canadians and Americans right now can start making some real money. Some real money. Now, everybody, you're going to love this one. Canadian income tax is at an all-time high. When you factor in income tax, you've got the goods and services tax in Canada, or what they call the HST, the harmonized sales tax. For my American friends out there and for my friends all over Europe, can you imagine in some cases paying as high as 15% tax on a chocolate bar, on a haircut, on a shave, on anything at all? Yeah, it's that high. So we have an issue with that. So you get taxed on your money, then you get taxed on the money that you've been taxed on, followed by the following taxes out there. You've got gasoline and road tax, property tax. There's tax on every bill you get in your house. Some landlords charge tax on your rent. Then you've got fuel tax. Sorry, I said that one. Alcohol tax for those who drink. Massive cigarette taxes for those who smoke. I don't recommend that one either. And then you've got all the municipalities across the country of Canada trying to rip people off with hotel tax. The Municipalities Act of the province of Ontario, for example, in Canada, states that municipalities are not allowed to create nor charge tax. What happened in my hometown in the city of Mississauga? They realized what losers they were in city council. They realized they were out of money, so they put a tax on every hotel room. They also, you'll love this one, they put a it didn't last long, but they put a tax on laser tag. There are 4 laser tag places I used to take my kids to in the city of Mississauga. They put tax on that. Absolutely unacceptable in every way. Unacceptable. So lean look, if you want to talk about RRSPs, you got to get a hold of me. Just go to my website, kevinjjohnston.me. And when you do that, use the contact form, please, and let me know you want to talk about RSPs. I'll put you in touch with my accountant in Ontario, the only guy that I trust in Eastern Canada, and he'll guide you through the process of withdrawing as much of your registered retirement savings plan as you can, paying the smallest amount of tax possible. All right. So everyone, Canada is just all about tax, to the tune now of almost 73% of the money that Canadians make is being spent on some type of tax. It's horrible. So Mulsi Chintas is asking, how does one pay for healthcare in Panama? Excuse me, out of pocket, become a resident, it becomes socialized. Is that wild or what? Just become a resident and you get access to the entire socialized healthcare system. I personally, I'd rather pay for it myself because I want to walk in, get served, and walk out. It's like it's a novelty to be able to see a doctor within 10 minutes in a foreign country. Because even when I saw my family doctor back in Canada, I'd go in, I'd sit down, I'd pretend to be interested in what people were saying. I'd read a magazine. Eventually, when cell phones came around, I could entertain myself on my phone. But you're still sitting in a doctor's office for an hour, hour and a half before you get to see the doctor. And this is how crazy it is in Canada, is if you need a prescription, and you know which prescription you need, and you know that you need it because your body is starting to act all wonky, you have to go see your family doctor. Or you have to go to a medical clinic and see a doctor to get a prescription. You can't just go over to the pharmacist and say, hey, buddy, you know those anti-inflammatories or that pain medication that you've been giving me for 6 years? Can I just have a bottle, please? You can't do that in Canada. You've got to see the doctors. You got to waste a day to get some pills. I hate the country for that. Panama and Costa Rica, both countries. Walk in the pharmacia. Hola, amigo. Pills, please. You get your pills. There's a lot of men in Costa Rica who would walk into Costa Rica pharmacies and just buy Cialis or Viagra. That's it, over the counter. It's over the counter in places like this. All right. Sarah says, I spent 5 months in California last month and found it was wonderful, cheap gas, plastic bags, and straws. Which part of California, Sarah? Because right now, Northern Californians are talking about seceding, not from the United States, but from the rest of California. Sacramento might leave. So let me know where that was, if you could, please. Are there any daycares there? Yeah, there are daycares all over Panama City. I haven't been to David, the second biggest city in the country yet, but I will be doing that in a couple of weeks. Daycares are here. Schools are here. A lot of healthcare is here. And one big thing that we also are going to be talking about in a few weeks is the fact that there will be a lot of senior citizen care starting up here. Carolyn, no, there's no shortage of nurses here at all. All the hospitals are fully staffed. They're ready to go. Okay. Just Tommy's asking, why Panama? More opportunity. A lot more opportunity. It's not just real estate that I do here. I'm involved now in the medical industry here, and we're helping people get their bank accounts open. So let me go back to what I was saying now about banking here. If you want to get a corporation opened up, get a hold of me. It's $3,000 US, but that gets you the corporation and the bank account registered, and you can start doing business here in Panama. You don't have to be in Panama to use the bank account or to do business. If you make money, let's say you come to Panama, you stick around for 6 months to a year, but you're selling your services to Canadians, Americans, Brits, Aussies, Russians, whoever it might be. If that money was not made inside of Panama, if it was made outside of Panama, you can put the money in your Panamanian bank account, tax-free. Yeah, I said it, tax-free. So why would you not want to have a Panamanian corporation? Now, one more thing is people are asking, is it possible after the Panama Papers to have a personal bank account opened up in Panama remotely? That's right. Do a Zoom call if necessary. Well, as of yesterday, yes, it is. Sorry, 2 days ago. Yes, it is. All right. I can get that done for you now. Now, the fee on that one is 900 Canadian. It's not US. That one's 900 Canadian. That one is going to get the bank account opened up. What I do is I have to act as the liaison between you and the bank manager, because you can't just make a phone call to the bank and say, hi, I'm a Canadian citizen. I want No, I've got to vet you. All right. So they'll be counting on me down here to have a conversation with you to make sure you're not some psycho, and trying to open up bank accounts for psychos to do psychotic things here in Panama, which they don't want. So I've the contract that I've got now with the local banks here to allow Canadians and Americans and Europeans and Aussies to open up accounts is all set to go as of 2 days ago. So if you head over to my website, you can actually just buy it. It's 900 Canadian, and you just give me your email address, your phone number. I will contact you, and I will get you the paperwork that you need to fill out for the bank, and you'll be in touch with the bank manager within a couple of days, and within a week, you'll have your bank account, your personal account. There's a couple things to know about bank accounts here in Panama. If you get a checking account, you can write checks all you want and spend money all you want. No interest. Get a savings account, 5% interest. Is that what? Come on. When was the last time Canada had 5% interest on a bank account? I was a kid when it was 5%. And when I say kid, I'm talking Star Wars being released for the first time. That's how long ago it was. All right. So I got some questions here. Frank says, I love walk-ins to the pharmacy in Dominican Republic and get medication I need and want. Yeah. Most countries in the Caribbean, most countries in South America and Latin America, they're not interested in wasting people's time. Because if they're wasting people's time, it means they're going to sell less things, right? They want you buying the medication that you're looking for. It's wonderful. Hey, I was in Carlsbad, Dinah Point, San Diego, and Palm Springs. Okay, sir. Awesome. I'm glad you had a good time. Cecil is in Ontario and wants help. Well, that's what I'm doing, everyone. I'm giving everyone the information that they need to make the right choice. Not when it's time for you to get out, because it is time to get out. It's when you're doing it. Right, there you are. Carolyn says you're a nurse and you want to do private. Carolyn, get a hold of me on my website, kevinjjohnston.me, and I'm going to send you a contact that I've got down here. He'll let you know if there's nursing positions available or nursing contracts that are available. All right. At least I can hook you up with people down here so you can start networking. Okay, Kathy, 100% has decided to go to Panama. An excellent choice. Get a hold of me if you need me to, and if you need Austin to pick you up, one of the two of us can meet you at the airport and get you into your hotel room. Right now, this is off season. Right now, everybody, this is what they call the rainy season. We had 11 minutes of rain today. That was it. A little bit overcast, but the temperature was absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful day today. So if you want to come down, the weather's a little bit cooler right now, and it will be until the end of Canadian summer, because Panamanian and Costa Rican summer begins in October around Halloween time. That's when it gets real hot. So I love it. I really do. Am I happier in Panama? Absolutely. Panama City is everything I ever wanted in a city. There's opportunity. There is a vast difference between the slum areas, the middle class areas, and the downtown core, the rich areas. Such a vast difference that it's interesting. Every corner in this town is interesting. Anything you want is here because of the canal. Everything that any human being could ever want to buy is going to at some point come through the canal. There's 1,000 stores, maybe more, at the economic free zone in Cologne, in the north of the country. Cell phones that are about $2,300 in Canada are between $800 and $1,000 in the free zone. I think I showed you guys on one of my Instagram lives, women's clothing. Hey, ladies, imagine buying brand new sport bras for $2. And we're not talking dollar store junk here. We're talking real bras, the good stuff. I know, ladies, you get hosed. You're like, women's underwear has about, that much material in it, kind of spread over an interesting shape. And you're paying what, $40-$50 a pair? Whereas men's underwear, I wear boxer briefs. It's like 4 times the amount of material in my briefs versus your underwear. But I'm only paying $20 in Canada for it. Down here in Panama, men and women are paying between $2 and $3 for underwear. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely. All right. Damon 2Beat says, hi, Kevin. Looking forward to our second meeting about my CERB issue. Let's do it. Friday morning. I've got 3 slots open Friday morning. Hit me up on, well, you got my phone number. just hit me up on the number and we will get your time booked for Friday. Okay, Sarah Scott, you want the corporation? Go to my website immediately. Kevin J. Johnston, that's my name, kevinjjohnston.me. Email me and we will get that whole thing set up and rocking for you. The lawyer that I deal with right now downtown Panama will get the job done for you between 5 and 7 days. That's it. People here are pretty efficient. They want things done. They really want things done. Damon says, I recommend anyone to having issues with the CRA to contact Kevin. Thank you, Damon. I do appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Can I explain more about the corporate bank account? Okay, well, just like in Canada and the United States, when you register a corporation, you're essentially giving birth to a brand new human being that will do business, but you end up being the brains and the nervous system for the business, or for that new creation. If you have a corporation, there's a lot of things that you can do business-wise and financially and fiscally, as they say, where you will not be held personally liable. If you screw up the company, okay, you screwed up, you can dissolve the corporation, you can sell the corporation, you can liquidate the corporation, and eventually within 6 months to 2 years, you cannot be held liable for it. It's the same thing here in Panama. You want the protection of a corporation here. Plus, on top of that, you want the bank account to be corporate. Why? Because even though there's banking treaties between Panama and Canada, the Canada Revenue Agency has no authority here. The Australian Tax Authority has no authority here. The only one that does, kind of, is the IRS, but those people are absolutely insane. So they'll chase you to the ends of the universe for 50 cents. That's just what the IRS does. They're out of their minds. Completely and totally. All right, Dan. Thank you, Dan, for purchasing a 1-hour consultation. I'll reply right after the show, and we can get your consultation time booked. Certainly do appreciate that. All righty. I'm looking at the rest of your questions here. Let me just check the Facebook room, everyone. Do I like Panama better than Costa Rica? Which country is better? What about El Salvador? I hear President Bukele is great. Okay. For me, now I'm only answering that question on behalf of me. I prefer Panama over Costa Rica. There is a difference in the weather patterns here that I prefer, but the amount of commerce that can be done here and the ease of getting into business deals here is unbelievable. And I have to be honest with you guys. You guys know I don't lie to you about anything. There's no point. But Costa Rica, food and rent and cars are expensive. They're unnecessarily so. People say it's because there's so much investment in the country, but I don't necessarily think that's the entire answer. I'm not going to get into, I'm not going to write another Adam Smith style book here. I'm not going to talk about the wealth of nations. But what I will say is that every single time I'd go to a restaurant in Costa Rica, it was 20 to 25 bucks for one meal. Burger, fries, $17, add tip, it's 20 US. And that's right now about 28 Canadian, I want to say, something like that. So it started getting to me after a while. You know, there's a delicious yogurt that they have in Costa Rica. It's liquid. You can drink it. It's awesome stuff. I mean, I would drink a liter at a time. I shouldn't do that, but I would do it. And it would be about 1,700 to 3,000 colones, which would be about $6 US for yogurt, which would be about 9 or 10 Canadian. So imagine a whole shopping cart full of food. We were paying $300, $350, $400 for food. And unfortunately, Costa Rica, electricity is out of control price-wise. We had an electricity bill of $400 US for 1 month. Not good. Really not good. So Costa Rica, as much as I love it, I love the scenery, I love the beaches, I love the waterfalls, the mountains, the hiking. All that stuff is fabulous. I was treated well by everybody there, but I couldn't afford it. The pricing was getting on my nerves. We also wanted to rent a car, and this was the one story that I've told before, but I'll tell it again. In Costa Rica, for a 4-month car rental was going to be around, hold on, it was $16,500 per rental. It was cheaper to buy a brand new car, and then after 90 days, turn the car in for 90% of the value of the car. They actually do that in Costa Rica. You turn the car in. you get 90% back. It's cheaper to buy a brand new car and return it than it is to rent it. So then I made a phone call to Enterprise Rent-A-Car saying how much to rent a car in Panama City. He thought I meant Florida, but no, Panama City, Panama. He comes up with a number of $1,600. So 10 times cheaper to rent a car in Panama City versus San Jose. Wow, I said, okay, good, sign me up. But the Costa Rican government will not let you drive a Panamanian rental car over the border. So we couldn't play that sneaky game. We had to find people to rent cars from. And we did a lot of private rentals, which was great. And some really cool people rented us their vehicles in Costa Rica for between 50 and 75 bucks a day. But the cars were garbage. I mean, the sun in Costa Rica, the West Coast, the sun was going down about 5:15. And like between 5:15 and 5:45, it's just the sun's gone and the sky is black. And we're driving down the side of a mountain, going back to Uvita from San Isidro, which means you're doing this down the mountain. What happened to the car that we rented? The alternator died. The lights went out. So could you imagine? I had to grab 2 cell phones. I had to sit on the door out the window holding 2 cell phones like this with the lights on them to illuminate the road, just so we wouldn't roll off the freaking cliff. Think about how insane that was. So Costa Rica it got to me after a while because I couldn't afford it. And the average person out there can't afford it. And the people that came down to Costa Rica to meet with me after I had said I was having a great time, they came down to check it out. The pricing got to them too. And that's just how it is. And that's not a mockery of anybody who lives in Costa Rica. It's my personal preference. Whereas here in Panama City, I live in the old town. Every night that I go out, there's a different restaurant that I can go to, and I can buy a meal for between $3 and $5. I literally do not cook. There's no point. Piece of pork like this with rice and chicken. Oh man, I had goat the other day, $3. There was a high school. They had this big volleyball tournament, and it was free to watch. And right outside the gymnasium, there were more than 30 restaurants that people just built on the sidewalk. It was goat, beans, lentils, rice, small piece of bread like this, and a beverage. $3 for the food. The beverage made it $4. And they had this $8 Walmart table on the sidewalk where I sat down with 3 other people I didn't know. And we were conversing broken English, broken Spanish. Not even Spanglish. I only know 150 words. But that's the lifestyle here. So I had this great meal, and I could see some of the volleyball game in the background, and jumped on the phone with a friend of mine and said, dude, for real, check this out, right? Restaurant. I turned the camera this way. There's 15 restaurants. Turn the camera this way. There's 20 restaurants. They're everywhere. So depending where you are in town, food's $3, $4. Okay. So, the value that you get for your money here in Panama is absolutely remarkable. Getting back to the banking bit, for those who need to open up a bank account outside of Canada, which I highly recommend you do, because after the truckers convoy, Trudeau Jr. showed the entire world how weak his ego is by shutting down over 1,000 bank accounts. He wanted everyone to know he could do it. That's what he did. There was no way that he was going to let the Canadian public speak, have their voices heard without him punishing people as much as he could. And he took people's houses away. Like, I know the Canadian government took my house away. They drained my bank account and stole my car. I know all about it. The Canadian government's a horrible, horrible institution. So, everyone, if you have a bank account in Canada, they will eventually close it. And the bank charters in Canada expire June 30th next year. What does that mean? Well, if Trudeau chooses not to renew the charter, the banks will not be chartered. Your money goes bye-bye. And that would cause the chaos that Trudeau needs to win the next election. A country in chaos doesn't think about voting. All right. Let's move on here. A couple more questions. Caroline, thank you. I appreciate that. So I can bring my Canadian money down there and get 5% and pay 0 tax. That's correct, Sarah. But just remember, your Canadian dollars will always convert to US the second you cash them in here in Panama or anywhere that's not Canada. Canadian dollars aren't just not wanted worldwide. The Americans don't want it. The Mexicans don't want it. Nobody in Nicaragua wants it, even though they're poor. Belizeans are poor as hell. They don't want it. So it will get converted to US and you will lose whatever xe.com will tell you the rate is today. All right. Sorry, Sarah, you're asking me about taxis? There's taxis everywhere. Getting around this country is really easy. Panama City's got a monorail. There's a brand new monorail being built that goes about 44 kilometers due west of Panama City from the downtown core. There's taxis on every corner. No matter where you are in town, there's taxis and there's Ubers. One of the things I like to do is I'll take, between a 5 and a 15 kilometer walk, sometimes 20. I'll pick a direction and just go and see the city. And then I'll call Uber saying, all right, my legs are sore, time to go back. I pay between $2 and $5 for an Uber in the big city. Imagine. And everywhere you go, you've got pop, water, coconut water, mango juice, whatever. It's $1. It's $1. If you go to the street vendors, everything's $1. If you go to the grocery stores, everything's $1. It's just, everything's cheap here. It's cheap. It's affordable. Good day, sir. I sent you a question about your podcast with Chris Sky. Could you just resend that to me again, if you don't mind, to my website? Go to my website, my name, kevinjjohnston.me. Hit the contact form. Let me know your question, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. This is live, everybody. Yes, that is correct. It is live. Okay, bring on the bathing suits and the bikinis. You do not want to see me in a bikini, but I get your point. Okay, Sarah, you need my phone number? I only give that out privately after we make contact through my website for obvious reasons. I don't need those Antifa freaks getting their hands on it. So if you could please go to my website and just hit the contact form, we will open up a dialogue and get you every single answer that you're looking for. That's an absolute promise. Okay, perfect. Damon says, no, our meeting is June 1st. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's right. Awesome. Thanks, pal. Appreciate that. All right, Just Tommy, what's a consultation worth? I do it in Canadian dollars. Even though I pay US dollars to live here, I charge Canadian dollars. It's $150 for the first hour, which will include the first 3 or 4 letters that we have to write to the CRA, because usually we end up having to write something to them. So I include the letters in that $150. You can just go to my personal website and mouse over the shop button and grab the 1-hour consultation. You're good to go. And Damon says, $150, best money you'll ever spend. Do it. Awesome. Awesome. Is it a challenge for vehicles? Well, vehicles, there was a sales rep I spoke to in Costa Rica, and he says, this country eats cars. And he wasn't kidding. The fact that there's so many dirt roads and the mountains are really steep. Like, it's a lot of fun to drive a car if you 4-wheel drive a car in Costa Rica, but it's really rough on the vehicles because most of the roads are clay and pressed rocks just smushed into the side of a mountain. And those rocks get loose and they fly up and they kill your tie rods, they kill your ball joints, they kill the suspension. They kill your shocks. It destroys them. Here in Panama, I've yet to see a dirt road anywhere. Not one dirt road. Everything here is either paved or concrete. Okay. Your phone should have fell off your hand. Well, my phone, actually, ladies and gentlemen, my phone's screen was already broken. And I dropped it again, and the screen just went white. And it went white right in the middle of a great conversation I was having with a great person there. I was pretty upset because I could no longer see them and I couldn't even turn the phone off because, well, whatever it is. Right here in Panama City, 2 hours. They promised me 2 hours for a new phone screen. 2 hours is all it took to get my new phone screen. Panama City is pretty awesome that way. All right, just checking things out. Oh, yeah, food's fresh here. If you guys go to my Instagram channel, just my name, Kevin J. Johnston, you'll see I snapped a photograph of cake. Slices of cake like this, 6 inches wide, 2 inches thick, 4 inches high. like 24 square inches times, I guess, what would that be? That'd be 20, that'd be 48 cubic inches of cake for $1 and a 50-cent cup of coffee to go with it. I'm telling you, it would be so easy in Panama to become 900 pounds if you're not careful. That's why I'm walking every day, because the food here is just remarkable. Okay, just checking questions here, everybody. How's the woman situation here? Could a good-looking man get 2 or 3 at a time? I'm here for a different reason than women. I came to Latin America. This is a rebuilding year for me, just for the record, everyone. The Canadian government took my house, took my car, took my money. They took everything from me. Everything, because I wouldn't stop talking about them. I wouldn't stop calling out their lies, and I wouldn't stop pointing out the truth. So I had a long conversation with my kids, and I said, I got to disappear. I'm going to Latin America because I got to make something of myself. I can't be in Canada making $0 a month. I want to go to Panama and make between $10,000 and $20,000 a month. That's what I want to do, and that's exactly what I'm doing now. So what I will say is the ladies in Panama are much better looking than they are in Costa Rica. But as for dating 2 or 3 at a time, it's kind of a Catholic country. So you'll find that if you treat a lady in Panama really, really well, she'll treat you over the top amazing. I don't think for an instant they're going to tolerate polyamorous relationships, just for the record. But give it a shot. You never know. Thanks, Sarah. I certainly appreciate that. When is Chris Sky on? He was on, what day is today? Last night. He was on last night. It was a great show. I'm going to put the show back on repeat tomorrow night, so you'll be able to catch it again. And if you're ever curious about watching any of my podcasts on Tuesdays and Thursdays, first off, you can watch them live at 9 p.m. Eastern time, just like this show now. Just type in freedomreport.ca, and you'll get to my Rumble channel where all my archives are. There's about 2,000 videos there, something like that. A lot. There's a lot. I've been busy over the last 7 years. MJF, I live in Buquete. I haven't been there yet, but I'm going in 2 weeks. I left the States 3 years ago, and I don't think I'm going back to the United States. I get it. The Democrats have ruined the place. I totally understand. The left wing has ruined the place. I get that. The left wing destroyed Canada. I totally understand that too. Is it worth it to move there by flying and bringing ourselves and luggage, then start over? It's cheaper. It's cheaper. If you're going to start packing everything up, first off, don't bring your furniture to Costa Rica. Don't bring your furniture to Mexico or to Panama. It's a different climate. So you've got wood furniture, couches, chairs, tables, whatnot, made in Canada or the United States. That stuff is made for that climate. Here, there's termites. So if you don't treat your wood properly here with resin or with the set treatments that they do, termites will destroy it all. So you're wasting your time bringing furniture down. Sell if you're going to move here, sell everything and buy things cheap. You can get couches here for $400 or $500. Good ones too. We're talking, pull-out bed couches. So the furniture here is really inexpensive. Do it that way. Okay. All right, gentlemen, whoever wants to talk about Khalistan, Wednesday night is not a political show. You want to debate Khalistan, you can do that tomorrow night on Thursdays. All right, there you go. Kathy, a 24-foot trailer with belongings that will fit. Okay. If you're going to be driving with a trailer, the problem with that is you're kind of a red flag. If you're going to cross at El Paso into Mexico, something to factor in. The Chihuahua state in Mexico, remember, Mexico is called the United States of Mexico. That's actually the official name of the country. I think at 31 or 32 states it has. Chihuahua state is really dangerous right now. There are parts of Honduras and Nicaragua in the north of Nicaragua that I would not drive alone in. So if you're going to drag a trailer like that down there, unfortunately, you are asking for trouble. You have to convoy it. But the problem is the thieves are armed, but you can't drive to those countries with a gun. Protect yourself. And even then, could you imagine being in Honduras with a shotgun and you blow some guy away? What do you tell the government then? You'd have to bury the body in the jungle. So I would leave your stuff behind unless you're able to get it to Vancouver or Halifax and ship it. But is it worth it? I don't know. I'm gonna err on the side of caution and say probably not. If you've got yourself an amazing car, sure, bring that down. You could drive the car down, but I would still drive in a convoy, 3 or 4 cars minimum. Is Panama American? No, but it does use the American dollar. Okay, I got to fly through the last of my questions here because the show is only an hour. Kay, I have not been to El Salvador, but I will be hitting El Salvador before the end of February. I'll have more commentary about it when I get there. Okay. Yeah, most homes in Panama and Costa Rica, most homes are already furnished. Alrighty, everyone. Cars, Carol D, are not expensive in Panama. They're actually quite inexpensive. You can get really good used cars for between $10,000 and $15,000 US. Everything here is US dollars, by the way. So when I'm quoting a price, do not think it's Canadian or Aussie dollars. Those dollars are not wanted here at all. Steve says he bought in Ecuador and it's beautiful. I haven't been to South America yet, but I will. It's only a matter of time before I get down there. I want to say thank you to all of you for being here for the last hour. Any further questions, or if you're looking for a tax consultation, because I can reduce your personal income tax in Canada by quite a bit. And if you have corporate debt, I can completely annihilate all of it. GST, HST, corporate income tax, payroll tax, payroll deductions that haven't been paid yet, bank loans, bank accounts, SEBA loans, all of it. I can wipe out every single penny of those debts. Get a hold of me at my website, kevinjjohnston.me. And don't forget the Kevin J. Johnston Show, the political show, is every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. That's it for now, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on freedomreport.ca. Have a great night.